This is ROW. Welcome to Rant of Whatever. I'm your host, Kevin Yarrow, and we continue our month-long episodes of scary, spooky sightings, UFOs, ghosts, monsters, and everything under that umbrella. There's something called culturally unknown, and it is very different from being just unknown. Being unknown, much like a scientific theory yet to be discovered, can still lead to moments of knowing. But to be culturally unknown, like UFOs and UAPs, as we now know them as, make it impossible for culture to ever know what's going on. We love a mystery, sort of like Stonehenge. We know what's going on there. But do we? Here is David Vorsay with his incredible UFO sighting.
My name's David A. Vorsay. I'm 66 years old. And what I saw was in June, about the first week of June in the year 2000. I was working as a night supervisor in the Census Bureau for the Pleasanton office in California for Alameda County. I was working nights, so I usually got off about 11 o'clock, 11:30. Take about half an hour to 45 minutes to get home. And so I'd get home about 12:15. And it was my habit to relax in the backyard, to smoke and look up at the moon. It was one night, I got my Coca-Cola there, and I'm sitting at the picnic table in the backyard. Moon was full. It was very bright. It lit up the whole backyard. Could see anything. And I was sitting there watching the moon for a while, when suddenly, about 15 minutes later, this huge light came from behind the moon and settled down in front, just at the bottom of the moon. You could see it. It wasn't blurred out by the moon itself. And it sat there for about 10 or 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, these little lights started coming out from it. Maybe 10 or 15, maybe 20. I didn't count them. But a bunch of them came out, and they came out and positioned themselves perpendicularly to the large light. And they started doing these weird circular patterns. And they were all like flowery patterns and all kinds of different stuff. They'd sit there and stop, and this pattern would be relevant or irreverent. And then they'd all jumble up and do another pattern. And this went on for 2 hours. At first thought, I was going to go call Palomares, Mount Palomares, where they have a telescope, but it was in Santa Clara County, and I couldn't find a number because I was in Alameda County. I didn't have that county phone book. But I was going to call them up and say, point to the moon. I also thought about calling up one of my friends and saying, look at the moon, the moon. But the lateness of the hour, I wasn't sure if I'd be bugging him or what. So I ended up just going back outside and watching this. This went on for about 2 hours, different patterns. I couldn't make any sense out of them, just like weird little floral patterns, like you would look through a kaleidoscope. And after 2 hours, it was like watching a very boring movie. It's real exciting at first, but then if they do the same thing over and over, it gets kind of boring. So about 2:30, I was starting to get tired. I'd been working all day long. About 2:30, I said, if this is all they're going to do, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much it, but it was the most amazing thing I ever saw. I really wish I would have called somebody else up or got somebody else to look at this. But I'm not worried that I didn't see it. I saw it for sure. I just wish somebody else could have seen it too.
That was David Forsey, and that was absolutely insane. Next on the show, I thought I would tell you another story about my own UFO sighting. And this was early one morning. I used to start work at 6:30, but I live close by. I think I left home like right before 6 o'clock, sort of thing. And I was walking down a dirt path, and I looked up at a skyscraper. There's only one tower in the area at the time. I know there's a few there now in the same area. But at the time there was only the one, and it was an older building. It couldn't be more than 15 floors. That's how old it is. Now the new towers, they're like fucking 35, 40 floors. Anyways, above the towers, 3 lights. And those lights, I assumed that they were planes at first and that they were coming towards me. Didn't really think anything of it, but they kept getting brighter and brighter. And this was like in the summertime. This was like right before the summertime, and like it was like bright out. Like the sun was already up. So there's no reason that it wasn't like stars or anything like that or a satellite. It's way too bright to see anything like that. I mean, I guess if it was bright enough, you might be able to see it, but this definitely was not what that was. And they were coming towards me. And as I watched them, they split up. One kept going over me. 2 of them, I won't say stopped to make a direction, and they didn't turn like a plane. But you know, like when you're playing the game Snake, and you know how he's like going in one direction, and then you hit the direction button, and he's just like, boom, in another direction, like instantaneously. That's what these things did in the fucking sky. In opposite directions. There's nothing that can move like that. It freaked me the shit out. But I'm a slave to capitalism, so I had to keep going to work. That's my UFO sighting. Anyways, that's all we have for you this time. Next episode, we're going to get into some more ghostly stuff. But until then, you can email me at kevinyarrow@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel, Rant of Whatever. And go check out the Earth Suckhole. We just interviewed Andre Legacy. We had interviewed Ken Bone before that. We have another exciting guest coming up. So until next time, this is Rant of Whatever. Stay spooky scary.